For my card today, I will be using stamps by Lavinia, as well as the acetate circle mask and the hill mask. These sets are really good, and today for this card that I've shown you, I'm using the largest circle acetate mask, and I shall be using both sections of it because it comes with like a frame. Very difficult for me to show you, and the inner cut out. So I shall be using that and the one of the hill masks as well. There's another 3 of those in that pardon me, in that set. I'll also be using some distress ink. So this one is dried marigold and this one is spiced marmalade, and then I'm using the distress oxide in fossilised amber and pumice stone. I'm also using 2 of the elements. So this one is russet orange and Sundance. I'm stamping in VersaFine Clair Nocturne, which is a really good stamp, and the stamp sets I'll be using are the Toad Lodge, the Slender Mushrooms, oh, I've not put the name on that one, that was a bit naughty, wasn't it? The Tree of Dreams and the Fairy Path. Sorry about that, I rectified that. So, and the Bumble Lodge. Both of these dwellings, I absolutely find them really, really useful for so many different things. And then there's the Fairy Path as well. Can't remember. And they all go together really well. And I find that they make a nice scene put together. I will also be using my stamp press, which fair enough stamping platform, which is a Tim Holtz one. Patty sells the Misty. They all, like I said in another previous videos, they all work the same, so either or will do. And then to create the card, I'm using a piece of the Multifarious, which this time I got using one from the multi-pack, and I'm using the 7x7, and then I'm putting it onto a base card of my own, from my own stash, that measures 8 inches by 8 inches. So that will be going on the finished card. This video may finish up in 2 parts, because there's quite a bit to it, and I want to just be able to explain the detail as I go along. Right, let's see if I can zoom you in a little. So starting with one of the what I call the hill mass, and I don't like the lines to be straight across. I like mine to go slightly at an angle, because nothing in nature is ever straight. Well, not in my world, it isn't anyway. And I'm going to use an oxide, so I need a brush that I keep just for the oxide. So these are some brushes that I have in my stash. Preferably really soft bristled brushes are the best, but you can of course use anything that you use yourself. You can use the foam bits or foam pads or anything that you use. Right, I'm just dabbing a bit of this ink off, and I'm just going along the edge. It is quite a light colour, so maybe it doesn't need dabbing off quite so much. Some people use these masks the other way, and they use them from the top facing down. This just is the way that I tend to use it. And hopefully you can see you're getting a line of looks like disturbed ground. So now using exactly the same mask, but not in the same place. Like, I don't want that raised bit to go in line with the next raised bit, because to me that wouldn't be what you want either. And I tend to want to have a raised section towards the right hand side. So doing exactly the same thing little circle movement along the mask. Gives the illusion of land. I'm not going to do too much more of that for this card. Sometimes I would do a lot higher up, but this time I don't want to do that because it would, for what else I've got to fit in, it wouldn't be right. So I just need to find a cloth. I'm just going to wipe the excess ink off my mask so that when I use it again, it's not all full of ink. So now I'm going to concentrate on my moon mask, and I'm going to place it roughly where I want it to be, but at the same time I'm going to take my Tree of Dreams stamp. So the printed acetate sheet that comes with it is absolutely fantastic for placing where you want things to be. So for now I want this to be so that it's coming slightly off the paper, and I want it to be so that, because I'm adding a dwelling after that's quite tall, I want this to be quite seam lower, so I'm having the bottom edge on the edge of the card and the right hand side off the card, and I'm going to just have it that just part of the tree will be visible in the moon. So I know now I can alter my moon to roughly where I want it, and to be honest, that seems to be as good as anywhere. So remove that for the time being, and I'm going to use the elements. So I'm going to start with the palest one first, which was the Sundance. Now I will admit these are extremely juicy, so I have dabbed some off, and again going round in your round circles. Keep going, trying to blend it as much as you can. You will be going over with the other colour, so it won't really matter quite so much. Right, I'll leave that for now, and I'll get the other one, which is the russet orange. I'm taking me another brush that sort of has that different colour for the different colour. You could probably still use the same brush for this, to be honest, but being as I have some, I thought I'd use a different one. When you look at the, well, no, you're not allowed to look at the sun, but when you see the sun from a way off, it's never ever all sort of just one solid colour, and looks to have sunspots and all bits of stuff coming off. So, and I think it just gives a little bit of design to the moon as well. The sun. It makes it look like it's got a bit of character. So I'm going to leave that as that for now, and I'll just wipe up on that. Normally I would use some a wet cloth to wipe that. Oh, now then, look at that sun. That's a lovely, beautiful sun, isn't it? So you've used that part of the mask, and just keep it to one side now. So now you bring in the actual circle and place it over the top, like so. Now then, now we want to go with the ordinary distress oxides, distress inks. These can be mixed around with the in your brushes The Oxide's like one brush per one colour. The other ordinary ones are not so fussy. So again, I'm starting with my lightest colour, which is dried marigold. And hold your mask down and go around. This brush has been used quite a bit, so I've actually had to put some tape on it because it's actually, as you can see, it's actually broken at one stage, so I have to be a bit careful with it, really. It feels like it's a bit like it wants to break underneath my hands. But it's a good sized brush and I just don't want to throw it away, really. So carry on going round. Again, it's the sky. The sky's never perfect. So, again, and you're going over with other colours after, so don't worry too much. Now, as you can tell, I'm wanting my sky to look like a sunset-ish. So, right, we'll place that one as that for now. And then we'll come in with the Spice Marmalade. I think I'll use a different brush, literally, because I think that one's going to maybe break before long. Now this one, I want more on the edges of the card, because nearer to the sun, because of the brightness of the sun, you wouldn't get that dark effect quite so much. When you've got less ink on your brush, just bring it in a little tiny bit. Try and leave this halo around the card to a bit, around the acetate mask to a bit. If you have any tape or glue that's removable, you can, of course, makes it a bit easier. It stops you having to hold your mask in place. You can tape it down and then remove it after. So I'm just going to do that. And there we have the thing effect. I think that one, I'm just going to blend it out a little bit if I can. I'm not sure that but having said that, that'll get hidden by the houses anyway, so that again I'm not too bothered about. Right, just remove some of this excess ink. Like I said, normally I have a wet cloth, but I've not got one, and you don't want to see me break off to find a cloth, so we'll just use this for now. Now towards the bottom, where there would be the brightness from the houses and strip lights and anything else, that would be a little bit lighter. So I'm going to use this fossilised amber one and just blending it in and going along the, not the shoreline, the land line. I'm trying to think what I've got to say, think what it is that I'm trying to portray, and remember what I'm going to do. I'm trying to find it all in time for the videos. Proving a bit difficult. Now, as you can see here, you've got I've got a bit of a white line, but I quite like that. That to me makes it look like the sun is really, and a little bit 3D-ish actually as well. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. Right, so now I'm going to get me stamping platform. do find that these, especially for scene stamps, are very, 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 very useful. So I'll just put those there for now. And again, bringing in the mask like we did before, it helps to know where you want to place it. So again, we're going to have the base of the tree at the bottom, just some of the branches in the shadow of the sun, and I then, have I done this? No, I've done this the wrong way around. Doesn't matter. If you find that you've put your acetate sheet the wrong way, doesn't matter, just pick it up, turn it over. Nothing's a disaster. So lay your stamp roughly, doesn't have to be perfect, over your acetate sheet, which now it's stuck. You can add a pinch move with your acetate sheet, and bring over, press down to collect your stamp on the lid. Smooth these out the way so that you can see what I'm doing. And you might have noticed that it's picked up the acetate layer. So remember to move that, because I didn't the other day, and I finished up getting the black ink all over my acetate little layer, which it didn't do it any harm, but it wasn't fun clearing it all off. So now little bursts of stamping, and hopefully it'll make it this nicely stamped, and press. I press quite a little bit for wait for a few seconds really before you lift it up, because especially when the stamping is going on the inks, it needs to absorb into the paper. And even when using a stamp press, I do this because it just helps it to absorb the ink, or rather the ink to absorb it. And as you can see, that's stamped fairly nicely first time. So I'm quite happy with that. So I'll just clean off my stamp and pop that to one side for now. Excuse my arms if you keep seeing my arms, but I've got quite a few stamps and things on the go, and ink pads on the go, and I can't really just hide everything. Right, now then, next I want my dwellings. So make sure that your card's square and straight on your platforms. Right, I forgot to show you at the beginning of when I was introducing what I was going to use. I have actually stamped onto some, well, we call it post-it notes. You could use copy paper. And basically, they're very thin paper, and along one edge they've got the removable sticky tape. These are fantastic when you're wanting to do a masking effect. So I'll show you how I've used that for what I'm doing. So, and just so that they didn't get broken, bent, all out of shape, I've just stuck them onto a piece of my own acetate just to keep them where I know where they are and everything. So taking your Bumble Lodge stamp, again using your acetate as a reference, I'm going to just move this over a little bit because it's a bit too close to the side, because I want to put my lodge about there. Now then, my acetate on this one is bending for some reason or other, so I found if I just use the magnets to hold it down while I place the stamp on the top, that also helps. So using exactly the same steps we did before. This one, because this acetate was bending, hasn't stuck to my stamp this time, so we're going to remove it anyway, so that's not a problem, and actually it reminds you that it's actually on there. So get your black ink, which, like I said, in my case is the VersaFine Clair Nocturne. You can use others. Ink it up in small steps like I showed you with the tree, and press down and hold it for a few seconds. Hopefully that means that this is stamped correctly the first time. If not, we can ink it up again, and because it's on the stamping platform, go over it again. Yes, as you can see, it's not stamped there. So that isn't, because it's on a stamping platform, that isn't a problem. So just coat the top of the stamp there, so I'll just get rid of that, and I'll press down on the bit where it wasn't stamped. That's better. That is just the other thing, you have to be careful. It's not helping because I'm trying to video it and keep it in camera shot, and at the same time try and show you what I'm trying to do. Probably if I wasn't on video I'd have no, that's fine that time. We've got the detail, or as much detail as we need, because we can always just highlight that with a little bit of pen work after. So might not, I think this was an Oxide, wasn't it? Yeah, and they don't always like to go on that quite as much. I don't know why. The ordinary inks seems to take it better, I don't know. Right, so now comes the masking part. So I've stamped, like I say, the stamp onto a piece of post-it note or copy paper, whatever you have, and we line it up with the stamp underneath, and I press it down where I've got the glue bit. And then taking the other stamp set, which is Toad Lodge. Love this stamp set, it's so cute. And just place that to one side for the minute, and again using your acetate little bit and judging, because I don't want this to overly look like another dwelling. I want it to look more like it's the outhouse of the dwelling that's already there. So again, to keep this in place a minute, I'm just going to use that magnet. So again, place your stamp on top of your acetate sheet that's got the picture of the stamp on, that comes from Lavinia stamps. And again, because I've used the magnet, it's kept that in place and taken it off the stamp. So we'll try and see how this goes, because again, this is also on the Oxide, so we'll just have to see how it goes. So this gives you a different perspective as well, because you've got the tree from the bottom, you've got this larger lodge a little bit higher up, and then you've got it is another lodge, like I say, but I'm classing it as a sort of outhouse, fancy shed. Don't know what to call it. I'm going to lift that up and see how that's stamped. Now, like I said, I think it's not stamping absolutely perfectly because it's on the Oxide ink. And like I said, it is a bit of a design flaw for some reason for that. But there are ways to get around it. You can just go over it with a black, well, it has to be run resist, but some sort of black ink that won't run, just to fill in the detail that's got missing. So that's that. And to be honest, I quite like the fact that some bits are missing, because to me it makes it look a little bit like a bit rustic. Let me see if I can zoom in. A little bit rustic, like which, let's face it, a shed would be. So then you remove your mask. Like I say, I place it on this acetate because it just means that then it's for another day. It doesn't matter that your stamping goes over on this. Just let it dry. You can use it again. It doesn't matter. And then you've started there with your scene. So I think now I'm going to leave this as part one, because by the time you've watched this, you've probably watched enough for now. And I will do part two, where I finish it off and do some colouring and the final details. So that's all for now. Bye.